For more now, Mr. Martin Summers, a political analyst, is joining us over the phone from London. Mr. Summers, we're hearing Mr. Poroshenko talking about the need for UN peacekeeping force in the east of Ukraine and along the Ukrainian-Russian border. Do you think this will help secure the ceasefire in the east of Ukraine?
Well, as the Russian spokesperson pointed out, the agreement in the Minsk agreement was that the OSCE, the Organisation of Security and Cooperation in Europe, would provide the peacekeeping personnel. And therefore, in a sense, mentioning the UN at this stage is, in a way, running away from the agreement that's already been signed.
But if there is another force on the ground as well to help in the implementation of this ceasefire, what would the problem be, and what is Russia's problem with those forces being on the ground there as well?
Well, as you said, the spokesperson for the rebel republics said that they're not necessarily opposed to a UN presence. But I think the real problem is that the fighting hasn't finished, and that both sides seem to be, the thing hasn't settled down as it might have done. I don't think the situation is entirely hopeless. A ceasefire proposal is on the table, which both sides say they agree to. It's just a question of implementing it. And as we know from previous situations in Ukraine and in Yugoslavia, where I used to be an aid worker in the 1990s, you often have to try for ceasefire agreements several times before they stick. So I think we've moved into a potentially positive phase where people are talking about political solutions rather than military victories, but there's still a long road to go.
And if we look at the fall of Debaltseve, it's actually currently seen as one of the worst defeats for the Ukrainian troops on the ground. Do you think the reason why Poroshenko is actually calling for the UN peacekeepers to come to the region is because it seems some sort of admission that they can't fend off the pro-Russian rebels?
Well, I think the fact that there's been ceasefire negotiations at all is because of the success of the rebel faction. If the Ukrainian authorities had been able to impose their will, they've been unwilling at the beginning to discuss anything at all. They've been forced to discuss because they've been unable to make what they want to do stick. But I think that's what usually happens in these kind of conflicts, whether it's in Ireland, Lebanon, Ukraine, Yugoslavia, or anywhere else, is people try to achieve their goals through military means, and then when they can't do that, they then look at the other alternatives, and possibility of peace then starts to emerge piece by piece.
And as you said a bit earlier, both sides still have their eyes out to gain more ground. So considering that we could see a continued increase in fighting in different areas of the east of Ukraine, do you think the OSCE or even the UN security peacekeepers would even be willing to enter a war zone at this stage if this ceasefire does not hold out?
Well, I think that's right. You can't really have peacekeepers on the ground until you've got a ceasefire in place. So whether the peacekeepers are OSCE, UN, or putatively EU troops is really by the by until you've actually got a ceasefire in place. I would suggest that the OSCE is the appropriate body because it's the one body in which keeps virtually all of the protagonists are dealt with by OSCE. UN troops, we didn't really see very much success for them in the Bosnian war in Yugoslavia. I don't think it makes much difference who the peacekeepers are. The question is, have we got a deal that both sides are willing to respect?
Much appreciated there, Mr. Martin Summers, a political analyst joining us over the phone from London.